Hello, everyone. Today we have Bianca with us. She's working at Chronicle and is also the founder of DevRel Uni, where she builds a community of DevRel professionals. And in this talk, Bianca will walk us through a framework that can help you in choosing or in deciding what Oracle you want to use for your on-chain projects. And then besides the evaluation based on various criteria, she will also give advice, I think, on how to design a robust architecture around oracles. But before passing the mic to Bianca, I'll ask Simona to step in and maybe give a few details about the ETH Cluj conference and the opportunity to receive a ticket discount. So, Simona?
All right, cool. Thank you for the introduction, Alex. So yes, as Alex has well pointed out, we have set up a POAP. As you guys are familiar by now. We've started this initiative in the beginning of the year, which is called Road to ETH Cluj. So this is an initiative meant to create anticipation and gather as many interested people as possible for our conference event, which is end of June, 26 to 28 this year. What we're aiming with this is try to get people familiar with Ethereum technical content as well, gather as many people who are curious about this, who want to join the conference, and give them the opportunity to join with discounted tickets as well. So at the end of the session, I'm going to share with you guys QR code that everybody can mint. And this comes with a 25% discount to conference tickets. And of course, you can accumulate that up to a free ticket. So yeah, looking forward to having as many of you as possible. And without further ado, I'm just going to pass the mic over to Bianca. Bianca, thank you so much for taking the time to joining us and sharing a bit of your knowledge. You're a super knowledgeable person in terms of Oracle, so please, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Simona, and hi, everyone. Just checking, I'm audible and the screen sharing is fine, right? Yeah, so thank you for joining. My name is Bianca. I'm going to tell you a bit more in a second about myself, but kind of the idea behind this workshop is to kind of give you an overview on what are oracles, why are oracles so important, why we should spend a bit more time as builders when it comes to choosing the right oracles. And I would like to say that we are a cozy group here, and I would love for you to ask any questions, stop me. If you have any questions, I would love to have a conversation rather to have this as a lecture style. So yeah, please stop me and ask any questions. Okay, so a few words about myself. My name is Bianca. I work currently at Chronicle. This is the team that built the very first Oracle in 2017. Used to be part of MakerDAO. Then in 2023, it spun out of MakerDAO, and since then it continues to power MakerDAO as well as other protocols and projects in the Web3 ecosystem. In terms of agenda for today, first, I would love to cover a bit of an introduction on oracles. Then we're going to look at how to evaluate an oracles and what are the different oracle types as there. Then we're going to have a brief introduction on Chronicle, and then I would love to invite you to see how easily you can get values from on an oracle. So we're going to have a bit of a demo session, hands-on session, if you want. Okay, I see there's something in the chat. Okay, all good. Yeah, so I'm sure most of you are familiar with oracles, but for anyone that might want an introduction on oracles, I I like to make this analogy with mobile phones. I think it's quite easy to understand. If you're thinking about your mobile phone is powerful because it allows you to interact with different applications. But in order to interact with all these different applications, there is an exchange of information. However, when you onboard on a plane and you put your phone on plane mode, all of a sudden you lose this transfer of information, and your phone becomes pretty much useless. If you think you can't do much with a phone on plane mode. Similar to that, if you're thinking about blockchains, blockchains are kind of a sandbox by themselves. They don't know anything about the outside world, but in order to have meaningful applications, for example, in order to have DeFi applications, you need its real world data. And we're using oracles to kind of bridge and feed smart contracts and DeFi applications with this real world data. So this is kind of a very high level description of oracles. Now I would like to ask you, I would like to go a bit about what are the different considerations when building an application. And I'm sure some of you here are builders, and even if you're not a builder, maybe you're working on the product side, or maybe you're interacting in other forms with the project. I would love to hear from you. What are you considering when building a DApp? Let's say you want to build a DeFi application. Anyone's brave enough to give it a go?
Security.
Hey, Bianca.
Hello.
One question is, it depends on what you would consider to build. Decentralizing would be leadership or pop-up cities. Or you could build a financial tool that's decentralized. You could be building a play-to-earn kind of game.
Okay, let's say a lending protocol or some DeFi application to make it more concrete.
We could consider the chain, the assets that you want to build with the gas fees for the chain, for sure. Also, where the niche is. If you're targeting big money, probably you will be layer 1, if not layer 2, and so on. Technology, it's also a chain consideration. So that would be another. Now, you tell us more.
Thank you so much, Robert. Those are all spot on. Anyone else wants to add something before I reveal what I have on the slides?
Some non-functional stuff like security and probably optimization, gas costs of the app.
Okay.
The place, yeah, but this also goes into the chain where there's enough liquidity you want to build your product on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You guys guessed probably almost all everything I had over here. So you need to think about the chain, on which chain your application will live. Probably you're gonna consider the gas fees not to be prohibitive for users to use your application, the user experience. What else? I put here the incentives. You can think here about the incentives for the lending protocol itself, for the user, for the borrowers and lenders, but also when it comes to incentives of different ecosystem, when it comes to choosing building on ecosystem A versus ecosystem B, liquidity, as Alex said here, and so on. There are many, many considerations. But unfortunately, people forget to think about oracles. And this kind of goes to my initial presentation on oracles. This is kind of a second thought. People usually assume, okay, I have all these choices to make. Oracles are kind of a second thought, unfortunately. And in my opinion, I think part of the issue is the name itself. If you look at this definition, I put the screenshot from Merriam-Webster. The name itself kind of implies, okay, this is an unquestionable source of truth. And discussions are kind of rare about oracles. There's this misconception that they're all the same. However, in reality, not all oracles are equal and nor infallible, as we're gonna see. So you can see here kind of the top 3 type of exploits, vulnerabilities when it comes to oracles. Those are flash loan attacks, market manipulation, and stale prices. I'm not gonna go into details, and this is not like to shame any protocols. That's why I even like grayed out the names. It's more to give you an idea that Oracle vulnerability exists, and you should really put some thoughts when it comes to deciding which Oracle solution to use and what's the best setup for your protocol. It shouldn't be an afterthought. So with that in mind, I want to go now over the top 3 Oracle models, if you want. The first one is the push model. This one basically proactively delivers data to the smart contracts. So basically you have a certain condition, let's say every 5 minutes, I want a new price, or a different condition might be when the difference between the previous price and the new price is more than 0.1% or whatever value you might want to have there, I want the fresh data. This is kind of the proactive approach, if you want. Now, the lazy approach are the pull oracles. And the pull oracles require the smart contracts to request the data explicitly. So in this example, there is the smart contract who goes to the Oracle and says, hey, Oracle, give me fresh data. And then the Oracle goes, gathers the data, passes it to the smart contract. And then the third Oracle flavor I wanted to talk a bit about is the optimistic Oracle. And this one, similar to optimistic L2s, basically assumes that the data submitted is accurate unless actively disputed. This type of Oracle is relevant when you're looking for gas optimizations, basically. So you have a certain dispute time, and during that challenge time, actually it's called, and during that challenge time, anyone can go and can say, hey, this data is not correct. If the challenger is right, the challenger receives like a reward in ETH. The price which is not correct, of course, gets removed, and the validator who pushed that price gets removed as well. So that's kind of a mechanism to make sure that this that no one is cheating the system, if you want. Are there any questions so far before we go to types of data?
How do you gain trust on an Oracle? Let's say you are doing a request and you wait for a response from the Oracle for that request. How would you trust that data?
We have, for example, I can talk in the case of Chronicle. I can show you the dashboard. The dashboard. Let's pick an Oracle. Let's say Ethereum, and then ETHUSD. So in the case of Chronicle, you can go on the dashboard and you can see these are the validators, basically. And for each of the validators, you see the different data sources that have been used. As you can see here, it's a combination of on-chain and off-chain data sources. You can verify in the browser the message of the validator, that the signatures match. This matches, but if I modify it even slightly, it's not gonna like it. It's not gonna match anymore. Similar, we have for the Schnorr signature. This is the actual data that gets pushed on chain. So basically, all these validators come together. They put they gather the data, and then there is a median of those values, and one of them puts that on chain. This is the actual data that gets pushed on chain, and similar, you can verify the signature.
And this is all for push types of oracles where the multiple sources can push a value, and then if the error is too large, then probably the result will be discarded, and only the proper one will win, right? But
Exactly. That's
what does Chronicle do? Any other types of oracles? Like I'm requesting the data from a smart contract and then expect to be called back with some data
the
from
pull.
yes.
Yeah, so we only have the push model. This is what we've been optimized with, because we wanted to have everything on chain. With the pull model, this is kind of the on chain, off chain, and you also have this latency if you want. So we very much prefer the push model. We also have like the optimistic oracles for layer 1 in order to help save gas. Because on layer 1, it's more relevant. The gas saving is more relevant than on layer 2s.
Sure.
Okay. If there are no more questions, then maybe we can look at types of data. When it comes to types of data, we usually see crypto price data. These are kind of the real-time prices for different cryptocurrencies, and these are the most spread, if you want, out there. Then you have like non-crypto price data. You might have like pricing for currencies, for stocks, commodities, etc. And then another large category is testable data. And here, basically, we're talking about any sort of verifiable piece of information. So this is more in the area of real-world assets, and you might have proof of funds, proof of ownership. These are quite popular right now, especially with the rise of real-world assets. Now, finally, yeah.
Bianca, I have a question. You know, this new type of ZK systems like ZK email.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider them an oracle? Because basically, those are cryptographic proofs that can be pushed on chain directly. Would you consider that an oracle? Like, I receive an email, and based on a cryptographic operation, I can just prove that I have received it from a given person, or that email, for example, has a specific constant attesting that I have gained whatever amount of money, or I have been approved to do something.
To be honest, I don't know. I haven't looked under the hood how a ZK email works. I know it's in the ZK area, but like in terms of, is it an oracle? I wouldn't say so. I assume, does it have any sort of validators? No, it's just like a ZK proof that basically says like, okay, it's true. This is true without revealing the actual information. So I would say not, because one of the main things for an oracle, one of the main properties, if you want, is to have like a validator network, which I don't think they do.
I would say yes and no. They could be perceived as an oracle, as in they will tell you the truth no matter what about the specific data that you are requesting to validate. They are not an oracle in the sense of, well, the data, if the thing that you try to verify changes, then you need to redeploy your verifier and build the circuit again for that specific other function. So I would say yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
They are oracles, as in they are telling the truth always, but only for a specific problem. So no, but yes and no.
I'll look more in depth into that, but yeah, like one of the requirements for an actual Oracle is to have like multiple validators. Otherwise, like if you rely on one data source, that's
I would totally trust the verifier of a ZK proof always. So in that regard, I disagree. I disagree. You don't need multiple places or multiple entities to verify the same thing.
Yeah,
If you have a ZK verifier.
that's true, but at the same time, you cannot guarantee that the data would be pushed. So there is no liveness guarantee. That's probably what Bianca is referring to.
Yes, there's no liveness guarantee because verifier only verifies that specific function so only works for that specific circuit and the proof built upon that circuit. So yeah, it's very static.
Cool. So it's both yes and no. Okay,
it
so
depends.
yeah, okay, it depends. Okay.
Okay, so going back to the framework I was referring at the beginning on how to evaluate an Oracle. These are kind of the 6-step framework for choosing an Oracle. And I want to mention that the order, it's not really relevant. What it's relevant, it's kind of to go through each of these steps when you're assessing an Oracle solution. So the first one I put over here is the operational history. So when it comes to an Oracle, you want to see for how long has the Oracle been operating, if it had any incidents. And of course, here, the longer it has been operating, like the more longevity it has, the better it is, assuming nothing bad happened. Another consideration is TVS, or total value secure. This is also considered kind of the golden standard, the golden metric when it comes to oracles. And this is basically a value that measures how much value is secured by this oracle. You can see on the right side, there is a screenshot from DeFi Llama about the top 10 oracles and their TVS. And of course, the more TVS the Oracle secures, and especially if it has been securing over a long time, the better it is. Number 3, I put here decentralization. So what I mean by that, having multiple nodes, those are also called validators. But it's not really enough to just have like a bunch of validators. For example, if the team is operating these validators, even if they have like sound intents, even if they want to do good, there might be errors or they might be subject to attacks. And people find out, okay, like that's the weak link, if you want. So what you actually want to have is to have like different entities which are reputable. And of course, you want to have diverse data sources. You don't want to rely on one data source in case something goes bad. Even if something goes bad with one of the data sources, your Oracle shouldn't be affected by that. Number 4, I put here validators, also called node operators. And I know I touched briefly on those, but given their importance, I think they deserve a standalone section. So basically, when it comes to validators, you want to look, okay, who is running the network? Are those trusted independent validators, which bring higher level of data integrity and network security? And of course, here, the more high-profile validators you have, they have a reputation to maintain. So basically, they have an extra incentive to make sure that the data they aggregate and sign is correct. I see a comment in the chat. Frankencoin, okay. It's a protocol also interesting that solved the same problem of on-chain price truthfulness without oracles. Okay, thank you, Robert. I'm gonna have a look. Number 5, data sources. So what are the different data sources that the Oracle relies on? And here we're looking for reputable data sources which have established credibility, higher liquidity, and a proven track record. And something to keep in mind here is that if you're looking for on-chain data sources, such as decentralized exchanges, you want at least 2 of those data sources to be on the same chain, such that you allow MEV bots to do arbitrage, and then you prevent price manipulation. And of course, here, traceability, you want traceability and transparency across data sources. So you want the user to be able to go and see, okay, which data sources have been used by this validator and by this Oracle. And I show you the dashboard in our case where you can see those data sources. I talked about this. So number 6, very important, operating cost. So oracles are gas intensive, especially during periods of network congestion. One solution you might think about is, okay, we're just gonna lower the update frequency, but then you end up with stale data. So this is not really the solution to go for. Instead, what you should be looking for is our mechanisms to reduce gas costs, but without compromising the data freshness. For example, in our case, we use Schnorr signatures to kind of bundle together multiple signatures into one super signature. And because of this, we're able to achieve up to 80% in gas cost reduction. So this is kind of the framework I wanted to present, and the idea that not all oracles are equal, to put some proper thinking before choosing an oracle. And I'm leaving you with this acronym, no DDOT, to kind of make it easy to remember the different considerations when creating an oracle. And this stands for node operators, operational history, decentralization, data sources, operational costs, and TVS. So this was kind of the first section, if you want, of this presentation. Are there any questions so far?
Is there a difference from Chronicle to Chainlink, which basically does the same?
Yes, actually, this is covered in this part that part number 2 that I want to cover. I'm gonna save it for this part. The question, if you still have a question, the question after I finish this part, and we go back to it.
Awesome.
I have one. So you said that it's good to have. So if you rely on 2 on-chain price data sources, you want to, or if you rely on on-chain price data sources, you want to have at least 2 sources. Why? How would you do to make sure? Would you just, I don't know, do a mean between values provided by each of the source, or what would be a good technique to do that?
It's more about the idea that you want to enable MEV bots to do arbitrage. So in case the liquidity shifts in one of them, that's the idea behind. But this really, it's not usually like the Oracle takes care of this, but this is something to consider. You as a customer of the Oracle, let's say, maybe you have like you want like an oracle for a new asset, and you go to the oracle. It's something to keep in mind that if you're using on-chain data sources, you should have at least 2 on the same chain.
Okay, got it. So it's deliberately enabling arbitrage. Okay, got it.
Yes, to prevent price manipulation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, then we can go to a brief overview on Chronicle that hopefully will answer Robert's question on how it differentiates from other Oracle solutions out there. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Chronicle has been around since June 2017, initially part of MakerDAO. Then in 2023, it spun out and now it continues to power MakerDAO, now known as Sky ecosystem, but also other projects in the Web3 ecosystem. Currently, it secures around 10 billion of assets. It uses Scribe. This is a gas-efficient oracle that uses aggregated Schnorr signatures. Schnorr signatures have been around for a while in the Web3 space. They've been first introduced with Bitcoin, but this is kind of the first time they're used in the context of Web3 oracles. Now, what sets it apart from other oracles? Pillars: decentralization, verifiability, and scalability. And I'm going to take them one by one. The first one uses a decentralized network of validators, and you can see that these are reputable protocols in the space. Other Oracle solutions out there, now this is a unique approach to Chronicle. Other Oracle solutions out there don't really have this. Then verifiability, you have like end-to-end verifiability of data. And I showed you here on the dashboard, basically how you can see the different validators, the different data sources used, and the aggregation for each of these. This is the verifiability, kind of the same process that I explained, and then scalability. Because of using Schnorr signatures aggregation, we're able to reduce up to 60% gas fees on layer 1 and 68% on layer 2. So those are kind of the three pillars that differentiate from other Oracle solutions. And for the last one, for the scalability, basically, because of this, we're able to not only minimize the gas cost per update, but I think what is more important here is that you are able to decouple the Oracle update gas cost from the number of validators. So what does it mean is that essentially you can add more validators without inflating the gas cost per update, which is very important for on Oracle network, because the more validators you have, the more reliable the network is. Does this answer your question, Robert?
Do I understand correctly that the optimization coming from Schnorr is just because there are less signatures to check in a way?
Yeah, basically a bunch of signatures are bundled together. One of the validators puts it on chain. And because of that, yeah, technically you have like less signatures on chain because of this bundle.
And how do the validators communicate, coordinate with each other?
There are two communication channels. One is through lib2b2, and the other one is through chain.
Isn't that centralizing? Me as a validator must coordinate with the others, so I'm not by myself. How would I say to someone your information is incorrect? How would I challenge that if everybody works together?
So as I showed you on the dashboard, you have the aggregation, and then like you have the median, which basically removes any sort of outliers out there. And if you're referring to optimistic oracles on layer 1, those have like the challenge period, and anyone basically can run a challenger. And if you find one such data that you think, okay, this data is not correct, you can submit a challenge. And then you have like the on-chain verification. And this basically compares the values. And if your challenge is correct, you get a reward, the value gets dropped, and the validator gets removed permanently. So you can't really mess around here. And if it's not correct, then yeah, the the challenge period finalizes and the value is considered finalized.
Okay.
Okay. Demo part. The demo part, what did I get over here? Let's see. If we go, let me 1 second to change my screen. Okay. So if we go to the documentation portal and then developers, we have like different guides, different sections, but what is probably the most interesting guide, the most used guide to say so, is the following: consuming Oracle data. And here basically it shows how to read an Oracle data. We have this button to try it on Remix. Of course, for production, Remix it's not really a solution, but it's nice to do such workshops and to test things out. So basically what we're doing over here, we have an Oracle reader, a contract Oracle reader, then we're declaring an instance, Chronicle, and we're passing the address of the Oracle we want to read from. So if we're going to the dashboard, where's the dashboard here? To Oracles, and maybe I should mention that, yeah, this is actually relevant. On testnet, reading from the oracles is permissionless, which means that anyone can read from the oracle. However, on mainnet, you need to be whitelisted in order to read from the oracle. So you need to come to us and ask, hey, I want access to this oracle. And yeah, there is a process, usually like either the chain or the protocols pays like a fee, and then they get access to the oracle. So going back to testnet, which is permissionless for this demo, you can go to the dashboard, select the chain that you want, let's say Ethereum testnet, so this will be Sepolia. And then we're looking at one of the price feeds. Let's say we want to know the price of Bitcoin in USD. We're copying the value of the Oracle, and we are going to replace it here. You can see in the comment basically that this is like the address of the ETUSD. Now I replace with Bitcoin USD. So this would be essentially Bitcoin USD. And then the network is Sepolia. Similarly, we have like an instance here, self-kisser, and this is, we have these contracts called self-kisser that basically allows users to whitelist in order to read from the oracle. So you can pass an address to the self-kisser, and the self-kisser will whitelist, will grant you access to that oracle. So if we're looking at the same tutorial here, on the top of the page, we have like the address of the self-kisser on different chains. And in our case, since we're on Ethereum Sepolia, we will use the address on Ethereum Sepolia, obviously. But we already have it here, just for the sake of it, is the same address. And then the constructor, in the constructor, we whitelist our address for this oracle, for the Chronicle oracle that we define here. And then we have a read function. And the read function returns two values. The first value is the actual value returned by the oracle. So in our case, since we put the Bitcoin USD oracle, we will return the price of Bitcoin. And the second parameter is the age. This basically mentions in Unix timestamp. And this represents the time since the time of the last update, basically. And here I just copied the iChronicle interface and iSelfKeezer, the functions that are relevant. So really nothing complicated over there, but quite easily. We can compile, and then we're gonna use injected provider. We're gonna make sure that we select the actual smart contract, not the interface. And okay, yeah, I'm connected and I can deploy. And we should see our Oracle reader instance over here. And yeah, if we read, we're going to have the two values. The first value is the value returned by the Oracle with 18 decimal places. We didn't get Bitcoin so high. It's just like the additional decimal places, and then the Unix timestamp. So very, very easy to do so. Maybe to keep in mind, if you're using another network, of course, make sure to get the self-keezer of that network instead of the Sepolia. This is like a common mistake. People forget to replace the proper address for that chain. And also make sure to have a bit of funds on that chain for the whitelisting process, since it's a write operation, so it needs a little bit of gas on that chain. Are there any questions on this process or regarding anything else? This was kind of the last bit of the presentation.
Bianca, I think there's one on the group chat.
Oh,
I think so. Is asking like if
So
you only
you-
guess.
So there is this difference. So for testnet, basically you need like the whitelisting process. This is just like to enable the access, but for mainnet, and I assume your question is about mainnet, like what does it take in order to use an Oracle? There are kind of two different scenarios. Scenario number one, and probably the most common one, is like you have like the Oracle has some sort of partnership with the chain, and then based on that partnership, it enables a certain number of projects to use the oracles for a given amount of time. Or scenario number two, when there is no such partnership in place, you have like the protocols going directly to the Oracle and establishing this sort of partnership and saying, okay, we want these oracles, build us these oracles, and this is like the Oracle then gives like a kind of a contract with, okay, this is what's gonna cost you like to have these oracles. So in that case, there is an integration fee, and then yes, you pay like the gas monthly gas.
Can anyone become a validator on Chronicle, and how is that profitable?
No, let me go back to that slide. At the moment, and actually this is kind of a key differentiator with other Oracle providers, we only onboard reputable protocols in the space, and the main idea is that these protocols, they're kind of staking their reputation, if you want. So basically, they have no incentives to do something bad.
FTX wanted reputation, and then, well, everybody knows FTX.
Yeah, I mean, this is like one thing to have like reputable project. We don't have FTX, and we didn't have FTX, but there are also like the mechanism in the protocol itself that I explained earlier. Like if a validator tries like to push a bad price, it gets detected, and it gets removed as a validator. This is on the technical side. So there, if you want, 2 levels of security.
And
What
maybe
happened?
I'm sorry.
No, I was just reading the next question, but maybe you go first before.
I do put a power to the people, where people can be the validator, so the Oracle push data source. And maybe not all of us have the power of the ones that you listed. How could we, the people, build the trust with Chronicle to become a validator?
So at the moment, the process is only open for these entities, like reputable projects. And to kind of give you the thought behind it is like, first, yeah, these projects have their reputation, but then there is when you have like individual regular people running this, is more risky. Like you need certain standards of reliability. You need to make sure that the validator is running properly, and yeah, it's harder to coordinate this with just individuals, basically.
I would disagree again. Probably lots of developers or people that know how to run services with 99.99 uptime could probably do as good of a job as Infura or others. But it's just me.
I have a question for Robert. So, hey man. So my question is, okay, let's say you want to decentralize it completely and make it fully, how to say it? Yeah, so totally open access. Anyone can become a validator. What rules, what mathematical rules, or what type of techniques would you use to ensure the security of data?
You can look at how ETH2 is doing with everybody is a validator that has 32 ETH. And if you are caught cheating, then you're getting slashed. The same thing could be in this situation. Everybody puts in some value, locks in some value, saying, well, I'm not going to lie. And if you can show me other X amount of validators that say differently, then sure, I'm lying and you can slash me. Otherwise, why should I trust Infura or DeFi Saver?
When you have I have a small parenthesis here. When you have like proof of stake for oracles, then basically if the value of the stake is less than the value secured by the oracle, then if you're looking at it from a game theory perspective, you have like an incentive to okay, I'm gonna get slashed, but then I can
Manipulate.
basically manipulate. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't proof of stake to oracles. It doesn't play very well.
Yeah.
For sure, there's a mathematical way of getting them into like a better economic situation where there's no gain from misleading too much. So I would still say that probably a more decentralized kind of Oracle would be better. Chainlink does it. So
What do you mean by decentralized? You can have like it's not. I only put these validators here, but there are more validators than this.
Right. The difference is in Chainlink, if the demand for some kind of Oracle arises, then people put in some link and anybody can choose to be the validator for that Oracle, knowing that everybody else would play by the rules, and if they see you cheating, then you, unless you have a lot of validators that are your friends in crime, then you cannot cheat the system. With this bunch of
Yes.
centralized services, this might be happening.
Theoretically, it indeed sounds like a solution, but you don't know what the truth is, actually. You don't know who's cheating, if someone is cheating or not. So it's one to apply slashing to, let's say, Ethereum validators who can be very easily caught cheating because you just verify a signature, right? But it's something else to apply it to a number, an arbitrary number, like 102,000, whatever number of dollars is Bitcoin now, right? And
Right, but
what's the source? It's market. Where's the source, for example, for prices? Do you consider Binance being a good price, Uniswap, or?
for sure, all of them, because the market is everything. I would say if you have 100 decentralized validators of people that are doing the same kind of push of data, you have to be 51 people from those 100 to be able to slash somebody else or to lie to the system. It powers in the numbers. And of course, if you have only 2 validators, then sure, if you have one, it's the same problem. How can you trust that data? You're on chain and you cannot verify anywhere else.
Yeah.
And if also you could think of if some validator is choosing to mislead with different information, the protocol or the on-chain thing that is used, like the lending protocol that would be using that validator, would provide the necessary arbitrage for all the people in the market to profit out of that misleading data. So, well,
Yeah, so it's kind of a discussion here. Yeah, so it's still a problem with solutions that are evolving.
for
We'll
sure.
see.
I mean, there are different
Yeah.
there are different models out there in terms of like who is allowed to be a validator. As I mentioned, in our case, it's only reputable protocols. As you say, Robo, other Oracle solutions are there have a different approach, but I think there's room for both approaches. I don't think there is a one size fits all. Yeah.
For sure, use multiple Oracle protocols at once. For sure.
Guys, just another question from the chat that I think we skipped a little bit, if I may. So is asking what happens if credit for protocol using the Oracle runs out?
I think this kind of refers to the question before of like, okay, how do you pay for the service? Who pays for the service, etc. You get from the beginning kind of based on the gas costs on that chain. You kind of get an estimate. Okay, like if you purchase this is gonna last X amount of time, and of course there is quite a clear understanding of how long will that service that you purchased last, and when you're getting like closer into the end, you're gonna get like reminded by the Oracle provider, and you're gonna have like a chance to decide, okay, am I keeping this service, am I discontinuing it, etc. So it's not like one day like you run out of it and boom, you run offline. That's not gonna happen. Yes, I can share the slides. Yeah.
Either way, guys, the meeting as it is recorded will be uploaded as customary on our YouTube channel, and we're probably going to share it with you in the next few days, just bear with us while we do that, okay? But yeah, definitely share the slides, Bianca. It's really good content and good information that you present here, and very interesting discussions.
Yeah, thank you so much for the questions, for the discussions, for having me, and looking forward to the next sessions in Cluj. Very exciting that the Romanian Ethereum scene is expanding.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as I said before, you're always welcome in our sessions. We love the content that you put out there and the effort. And looking forward maybe to having you with DevRel Uni as well. I'm sure there are many people who would be very interested into learning a bit more about that. So yeah, we'll see. Let's keep in touch on that. Any more questions, guys? Just a bit conscious of the time as well. If there's more, if there are more questions, please let us know now. If not, we can go to the exciting POAP that we've got prepared for you guys. So yeah, I'm just gonna walk everyone through it once again. So we've prepared a Road to ETH Cluj POAP. This is part of our initiative, which is aiming to encourage people to attend the meetings, be curious, and ask questions, and hopefully seeing everyone at the conference in June. We're trying to make that easy for everyone to attend. So I'm going to share my screen, and if you'd like to mint the POAP, this comes with also a 25% discount, which can be accumulated up to a free ticket. So let me just share my screen. You let me know when you can see it, okay? Is it all right? Am I, or not yet?
It was visible.
Okay, let's do that again. Is it working?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. So everyone just take a minute, scan the QR code for this session. And in order to claim, just make sure you join our Telegram channel and, send us the proof that you have the POAP or POAPs for every meeting. So 4 POAPs, that means free ticket to ETH Cluj. Curious to see who redeemed it first. Nobody yet redeemed it, but I guess we're now approaching the moment where we expect challengers, let's say. Okay. It'll take a few seconds. Let me know if everyone can mint it and it's all good. If you have any trouble minting it, just let me know. Everyone's good? Take that as a yes. Yes, Juarez. Cool. Nice. All right. Cool. I think there's somebody in the chat who just got his 4th POAP, but let's see. Looking forward to seeing it on the Telegram. All right. Yep. Cool, guys. I'm gonna stop screen sharing now. And yeah, thank you again for joining us, Bianca, taking the time to chat us through what has actually been a workshop a little bit. I really enjoyed it. So looking forward to doing that again. I think the energy was quite cool, and actually that's what we want to do, is everyone to pitch in and learn like hands-on, right, as much as possible. Thanks once again, everyone, for attending, and looking forward to seeing you to our next sessions and to be announced soon.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rana.
Nice evening. Bye.
Hey.